Hey guys, I'm Genie here, aka Mustached Tom, and I apologize for my hoarse voice for this review, but the reviews must go on, as they say, I guess. But I guess this game deserves a hoarse type attitude. I am here to review, finally, Fallout 4. If you end up enjoying this full review, then please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my description. One will head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. Second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And fourth to my Discord server, where you can join, collab, shield, all that cool stuff. And shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into Fallout 4. So, where to begin? I suppose we can break this down into two major components, the story and gameplay. So, the story of Fallout 4 is actually quite simple. You are a Vault dweller in the year whatever, it doesn't really matter, some future point that we're actually nearing right now. Point still being is that you are frozen for an additional point of time. However, you are previewed by the mere magic of plot convenience that you are able to see who your killer of your significant other, being the opposite sex you chose, is killed off, and you remained as the one you picked at the beginning of the game. Then, after a certain number of other extra time, you suddenly wake up and you are in the current timeline of Vault 111. From there, you're pretty much open to do whatever you please. However, the game does initially guide you pretty heavy-handedly with the quest of going home to going to the next location of Concord to meet up with Preston and the Minutemen. Again, you don't have to do this, but it seems of the most the best way to sort of get yourself acclimatized to this game, especially if you're a new player. But then again, Fallout 4 having newer players at this rate would be kind of weird. At any rate, we then follow to various other locations like Diamond City, where you begin diving deeper into trying to figure out the location of Kellogg, this guy who killed your child, or your significant other, and took your child, rather. P.S. He looks the exact same from the flashback as he does in the current timeline, which is bizarre because your father, or your son in this case, ends up being even more aged than he is, which is the models, not the modelers, not paying much attention to what the writers are doing, or something along the lines of someone going and doing something wrong. And no matter what choices you pick for Kellogg, you ultimately end up killing him regardless, which is why I always end up skipping the dialogue now at that point. I always just fat man him, because there's a fat man in the area that he is in, so might as well, right? And from there, you learn more about the Institute through Virgil, this one super mutant who wants to be cured, who's deep in the contaminated area of the wasteland, and finding out that they have portals and you can transmute them and gain access to them via teleportation. At this juncture, you have three options of which squad initially you want to end the game with. keep in mind that I am keeping out all the side quests for this sort of section here. You can either pick the Brotherhood of Steel, the Institute itself, or the Railroad of Freedom, who are, yes, unironically, another interpretation of freeing the slaves. I guess David Cage eat your heart out, someone beat you to it. In Detroit Become Human, someone actually beat you to the punch of robots being a representation of the slavery thing, and that being Fallout 4. Whoops. So the dialogue there for that group is obvious, if you couldn't tell. But I digress. So, once you pick one of your three factions, yes, the Minutemen become irrelevant at that point for whatever reason, and then whichever you choose, you typically get to get a robot copy of your son, unless you pick the Institute option, which I actually don't know, because I did do it, but I didn't see what happens after the fact, so I'm not sure if you still pick up a robot copy of your son or whatever. Probably. And that's about it for the main story. Now, throughout that, there are several other side quests that you can take on. These are just to stretch out the open world, as well as creating a more open-endedness to the structure of Fallout 4 and all of that. So it does kind of tie more into gameplay rather than story. And of course there is the DLCs that came with the game, which you saw through my gameplay of it. You have the island where you save a resident on this island, and then you have the Nuka-Cola world and the bandit stuff and all that great stuff. Ultimately, the story actually really struggles, or at least I find it to. The pacing is quite remarkably simple, in that it really distracts you from all the things you could be doing, or the main objective. There are all these things that sort of get in the way, and you kind of go, ooh, what's that thing? That's sort of the leeway of this open world, is that it's more, again, tied into the gameplay rather than the story. But that is still saying that the main story is still rather paper thin. Not so surprisingly, that considering that this is Fallout 4, but hey, at least I could play the game. I can give it that. Unlike Fallout 1, which I did try, and I couldn't even get past the first opening section. So, I guess there is something to the latter games of Fallout, that being 3 and 4. At least they were playable. Well, I don't even know if Fallout 1 was playable. I had too much trouble with the luck system, because that's all that it was. Anyway, with such a weak story, and the side content not adding too significant of a stretch of, I would say creativity, I'm going to give the story a 4 out of 10. I do think that there should be some more fleshing out of the main story, and mayhaps some of these sort of side quests, as they were, can be more integrated into the main story. Maybe you have to go through a little bit more of the Commonwealth to find the clues. Maybe, maybe they're just more clues in general, other than this one guy that you just happen to know what he looks like. I don't know, there's a lot of options here, and it seems like they picked one of the worst ones. But again, I think they do make up for that with the overwhelming number of side content that is all splattered throughout the game. Speaking of which, let's talk about the gameplay. Now, I'm gonna have to address the negatives before the positives, because boy oh boy, this game still has bugs. Surprise, surprise. It wouldn't be a Bethesda game if it didn't have bugs, and I'm pretty sure everyone in their, whoever's played a Bethesda game has noted that every Bethesda game has come with bugs. But by God, I played the PS5, I played it on the PS5, or transferred over to the PS5, only to learn, and I kid you not, there is a new exclusive bug for the PS5. There's an entire side quest line, but still, a side quest line that cannot be finished. It cannot be finished no matter what I tried to do. This involves saving one cabot lady and getting access to this entire other area. I went online just to find out that, yes, I'm not the only one having that issue, and that's not obviously the only bug I came across after beating it the initial Let's Play. For example, I ran into another bug of the Brotherhood of Steel. I think this one bug was a little bit more easier to tell how it activated, instead of it being this quest is just unfinishable due to unknown bug. This bug seems to present itself when you overlap the amount of talks you have with Dance. This, when I encountered Dance and tried to get on the vertibird for the quest that involves one of the quests that involves getting on the plane, I noted that I couldn't actually get on, no matter what I tried to do. After reloading the game into an earlier point and resolving the previous quest, or not having it active at all, so I only had the one active quest with Dance. Sure enough, it worked. I could get on the vertibird. So I'm assuming that that's how the bug sort of activated, as it were. And of course, there is the body glitches and the funny body movements and all that. There's even one in the Let's Play, so there's all that. Those bugs are just kind of more on the fun side. They don't really ruin anything per se. But boy, does this game just have tons and tons of bugs still. But other than the bugs, we have a basic shooter / melee combat, though I always prefer gunplay on Fallout games rather than melee. And you kind of have a basic tree of skills you could pick from, and you go around shooting and improving your stats, or getting acquired skills. And the more side quests and other stuff you do of that nature, the more of these abilities that you will have, which will only make your gameplay significantly easier, or access you, in some cases, further along faster in some instances. Like, say, if you have a certain level of lockpicking, you can actually lockpick your way into Kellogg's house instead of like asking for a key, which asks for charisma and all that. So there are variants, but it all gets you to the same location. This is obviously a far cry from something, and I haven't even played it yet, but I already know that Baldur's Gate has more in terms of choices and things you can like mess around with and fuck around and kind of find out situations. So, Fallout 4 has definitely fallen behind on everything in terms of gameplay. The gunplay is okay, I guess. And sometimes you could be placed into a scenario, for example, where you get loaded into an area where you insta-die every time you load into it, because that's always fun. That's something that can happen through an autosave, which is very annoying in here. There is just the way your companions move about, your co-op buddies, as it were, uh, they aren't that helpful, I guess. I mean, they could be more helpful. They provide further side quests depending on who you pick and getting them their likes up to a certain level, which is determined on the left-hand side where it says this character liked what you did. And then you could potentially romance some of the characters, obviously not all of them. And from there, you could essentially just, after that, you can just sort of breeze your way through the rest of the game, because after you unlock a certain number of skills, the game comes laughably easy. Early skills to definitely keep a hold of is making sure either your handgun or a non-automatic machine gun is ranked up early on, is what I found to be one of the most useful things to do early on in the game. Other than that, the gameplay is just pretty standard, and with bugs in mind, I can't give this game much higher than a 2 out of 10. I think the bugs really cement a real significant problem that has been a consistent problem that has never been resolved. And outside of that, even the gameplay outside of that just isn't engaging enough. It doesn't push hard enough in certain areas. It doesn't break away. Even, say, for your choices, again, you get cut down to 3, even though you had the Minutemen, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it doesn't really matter between which group. I mean, you kind of have to take out the other groups, and you kind of have a sort of similar-ish ending, regardless. In terms of the actual, like, end credit, like, talking point. And I think that's a bit lazy, and I think even Fallout 3 avoided this, if I'm not mistaken. If anything, there was at least 2 distinct endings of, like, you were either, like, super good or, like, super evil, but, like, the distinction in the dialogue and the imagery, I think, was different. It's been a while since I played Fallout 3. I could be wrong on the dialogue. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if it was the same. But I don't remember, so I'm not going to state that for a fact. Anyway, that's my full review of Fallout 4. If you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. Why not head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers? Send it there to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and far to my Discord server to join, collab, shield, cool stuff. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.